Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Shows, Style, and Spirit. I am Ebony, and I want to talk about Carlos King's interview with Drew Sidora. It dropped yesterday. This is Wednesday, May 21st, so it dropped yesterday morning on Tuesday. I checked it out while I was working, and I know that people have been talking about it. It was actually a very good interview. I feel like Drew actually opened up more in this interview with Carlos than she does on the show. I feel like she may pull back a little bit, but it also gets edited, so we don't know how producers chop and screw it. But I am glad that she did the interview. And if she comes back for season 17 of Roa, I hope this same energy carries on the show as well. I hope that she gets to that point. This is actually her fourth season on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, so she definitely knows, how the job gets done, but I still feel like she was more open during his interview. And I want to talk about her conversation regarding Tai Young, the retired WNBA player and now coach of the Chicago Sky. She's also being featured on the current season 12 of Basketball Wives. And we know some of her former girlfriends, including Mimi Foss from Love and Hip Hop and influencer Ming Lee. So Drew is going to talk about her. At first, she's going to be vague. She's going to be wordy and vague, but Carlos King is going to push the envelope in a gentle way. He's going to say, "Let me know if I'm going too far," almost like, almost like they're doing it. He's like, I'm gonna just put the head in, and you let me know if it gets too much. But so you just tell me when to stop. And he's like, were you intimate with her? And that's when she talks about there was some conversation that she wasn't getting at home. There was some flirting, and there were some things that she wasn't comfortable with. And I just want to talk about that and the whole dynamic of like bonding with someone and them not necessarily being of the opposite gender and how you may deal with that. And I want to talk about a lot of different variables. Her mom is a preacher, so we're going to talk about it all. So I'm going to mute my mic so that there's not an echo, and I'm going to play this clip, and then I'll come back with my commentary. Please hit the like button.
The way rap made it seem like it was more than a friendship, that you guys could have been lovers intimately. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to that? Were you and Tai ever intimate kiss?
Flirting, yes.
Okay.
A lot of flirting. Okay. I'm not going to say that there wasn't flirting. There was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of group hangouts. And for me, there were just certain things that I wasn't comfortable with, and not judging anybody for their sexual orientation. I just love my husband, mm-hmm. And so there were certain levels. Now, I can't help if, Tai felt differently or how she felt. I can't speak for her. But for me, I appreciated the friendship. I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated the fun. I appreciated, the distraction from what I was going through. And so much so, she was around. We hung out publicly. So I wasn't worried about people seeing us but I didn't know it was going to get to this extent to where he would say the reason why he wanted to do.
The way rap made it seem like it was more than a friendship, that you guys could have been lovers intimately. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to that? Were you and Tai ever intimate kiss?
Flirting, yes.
Okay.
A lot of flirting. Okay. I'm not going to say that there wasn't flirting. There was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of group hangouts. And for me, there were just certain things that I wasn't comfortable with, and not judging anybody for their sexual orientation. I just love my husband, Mm-hmm. And so there were certain levels. Now, I can't help if, Tai felt differently or how she felt. I can't speak for her. But for me, I appreciated the friendship. I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated the fun. I appreciated, the distraction from what I was going through. And so much so, she was around. We hung out publicly. So I wasn't worried about people seeing us but I didn't know it was going to get to this extent to where he would say the reason why he wanted to do.
The way rap made it seem like
why he wanted to divorce was because of Tai, because that wasn't actually true.
I'm going to be honest with you. When he said that was the reason, I'm going to be honest with you. When Ralph said the reason why we're divorcing is because of Tai, I felt that Ralph wanted to find a reason to bring up Tai. And it goes back to what I saw a few episodes ago. I just felt like Ralph is determined to embarrass you. And he wanted that to come out the way it appeared.
I went through with Ralph over the 10 years of marriage. No one got to really see that pain and really see every detail of what he did to me. And I can promise you this, if a cardboard box would have came and showed me some attention, I would have given it, right? Tai was someone at that time that gave me attention that I wasn't getting from my husband. And I said it on the show. She was a really great friend to me that, like, as simple as put, laughed at my jokes, understood me, listened to me. And so to have someone as your why he wanted to divorce was because of Tai, because that wasn't actually true.
I'm going to be honest with you. When he said that was the reason, I'm going to be honest with you. When Ralph said the reason why we're divorcing is because of Tai, I felt that Ralph wanted to find a reason to bring up Tai. And it goes back to what I saw a few episodes ago. I just felt like Ralph is determined to embarrass you. And he wanted that to come out the way it appeared. I went through with Ralph over the 10 years of marriage. No one got to really see that pain and really see every detail of what he did to me. And I can promise you this, if a cardboard box would have came and showed me some attention, I would have given it, right? Tai was someone at that time that gave me attention that I wasn't getting from my husband. And I said it on the show. She was a really great friend to me that, like, as simple as put, laughed at my jokes, understood me, listened to me. And so to have someone as your why he wanted to divorce husband that's supposed to be your best friend that you feel like you can talk to and tell anything to, I didn't have that. Before I ever met Tai, there was so much that happened that at that point, Ralph had moved out of the bedroom. I was speaking with the divorce attorney. He was asking for a divorce. We were in conversations of a separation. And yeah, Tai was there and a great friend. Flirting? Yeah. But like at the end of the day, we both have said it was a great friendship. And I'll still say to this day, we're friends. We're not enemies. But relationships come and go, friendships come and go. And it wasn't what he was making out to be as far as he wanted this divorce. I was fed up. There was infidelity. There was pain. There was hurt. And I feel like he waited for a reason. He waited for a reason. And I feel like that friendship was that reason he hung on to and he's still hanging on to because I had an open conversation with him about Tai being a friend. He felt like it was inappropriate. So we didn't talk anymore. You know, husband that's supposed to be your best friend. We didn't talk anymore. You know, I thought we were in a position to reconcile. And again, I have been met with him wanting an open relationship, him wanting to have other women. He's not still been honest. I was waiting when Porsha and Shamea asked, have you ever cheated on Drew? I was waiting for him to be honest. And he got choked up and he just threw out no. And I'm like, okay, if we can see it, we can see that he wasn't being honest. But I was waiting for him to be honest because until he's honest about what we've gone through, you can't continue to point the finger and try to play victim as though you were hurt when you already wanted the divorce. Even dating back to when we lived in Chicago, he wanted the divorce. We didn't talk anymore. You know,
Okay, so those first two clips I played twice each because I felt like those were like the most significant, where she described her friendship with Tai as including lots of conversation. Tai listened to her, so I assume she validated her, let her know she wasn't crazy or weird for her thoughts and her feelings, and she understood. She said that there was lots of flirting, and they went out on group dates. And Drew said, I wasn't worried about being seen in public with her. She wasn't like shamed of being Ty's friend, but if there was to go anything beyond the flirting, she said, you know, she wasn't totally comfortable with things. And she said she couldn't speak for Tai. I can tell that Drew Sidora and Tai Young, they definitely have a mutual respect for each other. And there's no beef because they're both talking respectfully on their reality TV shows about the friendship. And both are consistent. Now, for folks who do not like Drew, they may say, yeah, they got their stories together, but I do believe that it's what it was. Drew said there was some flirting. Hell, it's lots of straight women who have said that Tai Young is fine, myself included. I say it as well. And I met Tai a few summers ago. She brought her pop-up shop for her clothing line here to Detroit. And it was at a sneaker shop in a township called Royal Oak. And it was really cool. They were playing music. She had a DJ, and the sneaker shop was cool. It had pictures of Biggie and Aaliyah. So it was a really cool vibe. And Tai, she actually rang you up and she would get whatever item. She had like the shoppable items on the floor, and you would tell her what you want, and she would go back and bag your stuff and ring you up herself. She is a cool vibe. She's, of course, it was just in that pop-up shop setting, but she was friendly, definitely some masculine energy there. And I think that could definitely, help a gal think like, wow, she's cute. She's tall, taller than some guys. So I think that on the physical level, it's pretty much expected that you would find her attractive. Now, Drew is obviously straight. She's legally married to a man. She's given birth. She's had children. So I think that that's probably a lot all at once for a straight woman to process. I'm going through a divorce. This guy is a jerk to me. I still have to take care of these kids. I film movies, and I'm filming a reality TV show of all types of shows. And now I'm finding myself flirting with another woman. What the fuck is happening with me? Okay. It's one thing if you just reach a point in your life where you're open-minded, or maybe you realize that you're fluid, whatever. But it's another thing to have all of those major responsibilities and the challenge of going through a divorce. And then, you find yourself enjoying the company of another woman. And for all of your life, you've lived your life as a straight woman. That could be a lot to deal with. So I totally get it if she was uncomfortable with doing things, in an intimate way or showing affection. But she said she enjoyed the conversation and the flirting. And I think Tai, like if you watch Basketball Wives, this past episode from Monday night, Brandy was saying, is that what you do, Tai? You just go get with straight girls and do what you do? She was like, no, they come to me. They talk to me. And I can believe that, because everybody, whenever a blogger over the years brings up Tai, I'm not going to say, I can't generalize and say everybody, but so many women will say, I'm straight and Tai is fine. Okay. So, I think that that's pretty normal for Tai at this point. I don't think it's a big deal to her. And I don't think Drew Sidora is the first woman that Tai has had spent time with, and they weren't comfortable, becoming very affectionate. And especially if they've lived their life as a straight woman, I think that Tai has a lot of experience with women in that way. And I don't think she judges. I don't think she's judgmental, and she's not trying to out Drew, unlike her husband. So I think that it was just a very special, supportive friendship. I actually wish that a lot more people could experience this, where a person is just trying to listen to you, get to know you, and not necessarily trying to fuck. That's a disadvantage sometimes if you're trying to talk to a guy. He's just thinking about what angle can he run, to get inside your panties. But in this situation, Drew was saying, my husband wasn't listening to me at home. I wasn't getting good conversation at home, and Tai gave that to me. And I think I've said this in another video, that has to be an advantage to dating the same gender, especially for two women. There's got to be, really good conversation. The other person is a really good listening ear, just with it being two women. So I think that this brings up, really good conversation about how you can bond with someone, regardless of the gender, if they're being a great friend. And then you could find yourself flirting, like Drew said. And then if you're comfortable, if both parties are comfortable, it could go to other places. But I thought that that was key. And in case you're not watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta, in one of those clips where she's talking about how Ralph is trying to say that Tai was the reason why he filed for divorce, Drew said, he's wanted the divorce for a long time, even before we moved to Atlanta and was living in Chicago. He wanted the divorce then. And he knew that Tai was just my friend. So she's talking about a scene that he filmed with Porsha and Shamea. But what do you think about the things that Drew had to say about her friendship with Tai? Let me know in the comments. So now I want to get into Drew talking to Carlos about Shamea and Porsha. First, we're going to get on Porsha. Now, Porsha's baby daddy, Dennis, is going to kind of catch a stray here. Drew is going to talk about what she's attracted to in a man. I'll say that. And she's going to talk about Porsha not being able to deliver on her storyline. So let me mute my mic. Please hit the like button.
Were you ever attracted to Dennis? Now,
have you not seen my husband? I like a certain physique. I like biceps, not bellies. I really, no offense to Dennis. But the physiques are different. That's what I'm saying. The physiques are definitely different. No? Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying.
I like my physique.
If you know, you know. And if you see, you see. And if you know it's different, it's different. And so it's just unbelievable to me. It's like, are we believing this? And I don't think people are believing it. I don't think you're believing it. I don't think the fans are buying it. I think that Porsha was brought here to give a life and a story that she wasn't able to deliver. And so that is the reason my name is brought up in every scene, every episode, every moment, even in her confessionals. Porsha was a fan of the music before cameras were.
What do you mean?
She and I had a conversation.
Were you ever attracted to Dennis? Now,
she and I had a conversation, and she said this on, I want to say episode 1 and maybe episode 2. She definitely said we had a conversation. Dennis invited her to my birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Dennis be inviting you to my birthday party if you had no idea? So people what it really is that Porsha and I had a conversation, and I told her about me working with Dennis. Let me back up, because when she was Mrs. Gubadia, reached out to her multiple times. Multiple times. I text her multiple times. I called her multiple times. And what I know now about Porsha is she's just not a girl's girl, and she's just not a good friend. So in my reaching out to her, she was busy off living her princess African life. And no one heard from Porsha. She wasn't showing up. She wasn't around us. We didn't see her. We saw her on Instagram. We saw the life on Instagram that she was putting out there. And so therefore, that's what it was. And so I didn't get any return phone calls. It was not reciprocated. It wasn't reciprocated. I'm reaching out. You're not reaching out to me. When she heard about the divorce, she never reached out to me. When I heard about her divorce, I immediately reached out to her. But at a certain, she and I had a conversation, and she said this on, I want to say episode 1 and maybe episode 2. She definitely said we had a conversation. Dennis invited her to my birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Dennis be inviting you to my birthday party if you had no idea? So people what it really is that Porsha and I had a conversation, and I told her about me working with Dennis. Let me back up, because when she was Mrs. Gubadia, reached out to her multiple times. Multiple times. I text her multiple times. I called her multiple times. And what I know now about Porsha, at a certain point in time, and I have the text messages, where I was like, you need to call me, and she said, well, let's go to eat. I said, listen, she wanted to know, what are the new girls like? I don't know about the new girls. I don't know anything, but I need to see you. I need to talk to you. Oh, not you trying to bait me. I need to talk to you, because I felt like it was something that was important to talk about. So she called me. We had a conversation. She's like, yeah, I know. I love the music. I love what you and Dennis are doing. We were in the studio, and Dennis will call her. Hey, girl. She knew what we were doing. She knew what we were working on. Dennis was like, she loves this track. She loves this track.
What's Porsha's favorite track on your album?
All of them, child. All of them, okay? She said the album is a hit. So when I saw her at Shamea's birthday party, I'm like, let's do some shots. Like, what's up? I was just so happy to see my girl. So when she came at me, that's why my mouth was open. And I didn't really...
You were down.
I was flabbergasted. I'm like, I was so confused because I'm like, we definitely like talked a couple of times and we've already talked about this, you know, at a certain point in time. And I have the text messages. I'm like, I was so confused because I'm like, we definitely like talked a couple of times and we've already talked about this, you know, because as a friend, I felt like it was important to do so. I'm like, I was so confused because I'm like, we definitely like talked a couple of times and we've already talked about this, you know, because as a friend, I felt like it was important to do so. I'm like, I was so confused because I'm like, we definitely like talked a couple of times and we've already talked about this, you know, because as a friend, I felt like it was important to do so. I'm like, I was so confused because I'm like, we definitely like talked a couple of times and we've already talked about this, you know, because as a friend, I felt.
Okay, so Drew was really shading Porsha. She was talking about how Porsha didn't really connect with the girls on the show when she, announced that she was in love with Simon and they were getting married and she was traveling all over the world. She said, we didn't see or hear from Porsha. We saw her life on Instagram. But when it was time for Porsha to return back to the show, she could not deliver that same exact lifestyle for the show. Now, I will say, this is a semi credit to Porsha. Her husband, Simon, has been a jerk, issuing a cease and desist. He did not want Bravo cameras in his home. He was trying to kick Porsha out of the marital home, just absolutely trying to prevent her from filming in the marital home. He knew that he would be putting a dent in her storyline, and that's what he was trying to do, only to get detained by ICE. And I mean, that could have been a part of her storyline. I'm sure it'll be something she will mention at the reunion. And if Porsha comes back for season 17, she might say that. But Porsha is just skating on by, barely talking about Simon. But yet she's made Drew and Shamea her storylines. But I feel like Drew is being so quick-wit and reading the girls in this Soul interview. And I just do not understand the disconnect between the interview and the show. I was actually feeling pretty much all, or definitely the majority of what Drew had to say during the interview, especially when she talked on Shamea and her lapdog behavior. And we're going to get into that in a moment. But I think that she is spot on about Porsha not being able to deliver the storyline of the luxury and the wealth that she allegedly had when she was married to Simon. Now, that seemed to have been an illusion, perhaps. I guess that's what he sold himself onto her to get her to fall in love. But, she couldn't even show the marital home because Simon totally put a stop to it. And I don't know if he must have almost got some sort of gag order on her, or a cease and desist where she couldn't really say much. If she mentions Simon, it's always in regards to her daughter, Pilar, where, allegedly Pilar's asking about Simon and she just tells her that he's at work. And that's pretty much it. As if Simon is the only father figure in Pilar's life. But, whatever. It's almost like she's told Pilar, Simon is her granddad, I don't know. It's so strange. But let's get into what Drew has to say about Shamea. And it is right here. So I'm going to mute my mic. Here we go.
This is Porsha's show. She's the HBIC. And I don't know if this is a good idea, but this is the real. And she went on to say that, the friendship is not in the place that everyone thinks that it's in. She was hurt by the fact that Porsha didn't come to her wedding. She was hurt by the fact that Porsha did not ever congratulate her for getting a peach, nor ever take her out to celebrate her. I would never know this. I would never know this. And I never would have thought that that was the case, because Instagram shows this great, beautiful, friendship. But there was a plethora of things that Shamea said that I feel like Shamea needs to vocalize, right? Because that's her story, that's her pain, that's her journey. But she had a lot to say about how she felt like Porsha was not a good friend to her, and that she has been a very loyal friend to Porsha. And we only encouraged her, because myself, and I've always told Angela, I told Sonia, and how I've lived on this show is speak your truth and just be you. Mm-hmm. And that's all I can say. This is Porsha's show. She's the HBIC. And that's all I can say. And so we encourage Shamea to do that. And I think with us now knowing this and Angela speaking of Porsha, it was bound to come out. We had a cocktail or two. And she felt vulnerable. And I feel like she felt comfortable and she needed to get this out. And so she was like, I need us to pinky swear because what I'm about to tell you, I need to feel like I'm in a safe space. So we pinky sweared. I'm like, what's wrong, you know? And she went on to tell us that she felt like, you know, she needed to be real and address the issues that she has in her friendship with Porsha. She went on to say how she didn't want to come across as though now she's got a peach and she's here and now she's going to tear down her friend who helped her to get on the show. She didn't want the fans to come for her in that way to feel like she's ungrateful or a bad friend. So I can tell you she was considering the fans and the look of how it would come across.
Do you think Shamea is tired of being the background singer in Porsha's life?
Yeah, I think that Shamea, first and foremost, is such a humble spirit.
She is.
Such a pure soul. I just love her. I just love who she is. And she's so dynamic and she has so much energy. And she just seems like she puts on a happy front. Like, I'm going to just be the life of the party. I'm going to make everybody laugh. And she doesn't really get an opportunity to open up about who she is and how she's feeling because she's never been in a position to. So the friend of the show, she became the friend in real life. The cheerleader on the court was the cheerleader that I think she was for a lot of people, you know, but particularly Porsha. So seeing her in this position, I felt like this was her opportunity to exhale and release. And I just felt for her because I know what it feels like to be in a relationship, friendship, and you feel like you can't really speak your truth, but you want to clear the air so hopefully you guys can get to a better place.
Tired of being the background singer in Porsha's life?
Yeah, I think that.
Okay, this was like so important for Drew she was basically speaking for Shamea. So she said that Shamea has opened up to her and Angela about her issues in her friendship with Porsha, but she's been afraid to express that while filming for Roa because she was afraid that the viewers of the show, we would get mad at her for speaking ill on her friendship with Porsha as if she's ungrateful to be on the show. But Shamea, darling, you have to live your truth because as you can see, not everybody is team peach juice. And some of us feel like, you know, you have been acting like a lapdog. I think it actually goes back to your people pleasing. You put all this pressure on yourself to try and come up with a way to have another baby because your husband Gerald wants a third baby, a little boy, I believe. You put this pressure on yourself to make sure that you're not disappointing the fans of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. But we understand that it is reality TV. We're all adults. We've had friendships where we've fallen out with friends. And the beautiful part is when y'all get back together and it's all good. And some friendships, they end forever. That's a part of life. You know, we're not going to judge you as being ungrateful, especially not seeing how Porsha's moving. And I think at the end of the day, you can't worry about what people say and think about you anyway. And I feel like once Shamea sheds that people pleasing layer, everything will become more clear for her. And she, you know, she's just not going to give a fuck, you know, IDGAF. So I hope that Shamea gets to that point. And again, Shamea, don't try and be the producer of the reality TV show. Just, you know, give your reality, show us your reality and let the chips fall. That is what I say. Shamea, you are a key piece because you bring the luxury. You are a beautiful chocolate Black woman and you're married to a Black man who is successful and you have beautiful babies. You're very blessed. Show us that. And any issues with the friendship is obviously out there now. So we'll just see, what the future holds. But I was glad that Drew said that for sure. And then there is another clip on the Bravo Shade Room. And I want to say shout out to the Bravo Shade Room. They cut my work in half because I did say to myself while I was working today, like, Ebony, you have to watch that interview again because you did not write down time codes. And they totally clipped out the things that I wanted to talk about. So I was also thankful. The one clip that the Bravo Shade Room did not clip out was Drew talking about Brit Edie. It was hilarious. She was saying that, Brit is not a girl's girl. She doesn't think Roa is for her. She said, I feel like she would be better equipped for a show like Rags to Riches. She was like shading the hell out of Brit. Rags to Riches? Isn't that the show from like the late 80s with Tisha Campbell? Were they living in an orphanage? All I know is you got the title Rags to Riches. That is pretty self-explanatory. Let me just Google really quick. TV show Rags to Riches. As soon as I started typing out T, of course, Tubi is popping up because I love me some Tubi. Yes, Tisha Campbell was in it. Yes, late 80s, 1987 was when it came on, when it debuted, 2 seasons. And it was a musical comedy drama. Yes, and it was about a self-made millionaire who adopts 6 orphan girls. So it wasn't an orphanage, but he adopted 6 orphan girls. Rags to riches. Yep. She said that Brit Edie was better off on a show like Rags to Riches. Drew, that is hilarious. Okay. I loved it. So definitely, if you want to hear the whole thing, the interview is a little over an hour. It's over on Carlos King's YouTube channel. I think that this was very key, very significant. Of course, I'm sure Ralph Pittman is trying to come up with some sort of spin for an episode for his podcast, which he puts the podcast episodes on his YouTube channel. I'm sure Ralph Pittman now at this point is a part of the red pill sector here on YouTube. But I thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. I thank you all so much for checking this out, and I hope that you had a wonderful Wednesday. We are almost to the weekend. I got a 4-day weekend. I'm off on Friday, so I just want to press on through on Thursday. My goodness. And then I want to see Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. I hope that the Ethan character does not pass away. That would be devastating. I want him, Benji, and Ving Rhames to just like run off into the sunset, okay? Angela Bassett is going to be in it because this is like the final Mission Impossible. So I hope that it's nothing tragic. And last night after I made content and I was like upstairs in bed, I was thinking about Mission Impossible and I was like, you know what? He's had a lot. I'm not going to say a lot. He's had a few women of color in his films. Tandy Newton. Is her last name Newton? Let me Google. Tandy, I think it is Newton. Yes, Tandy Newton. She was in a Mission Impossible movie. And Paula Patton, she was in a Mission Impossible movie. Now, this is no shade to Paula Patton, but that one was probably like my least favorite Mission Impossible movie. I felt like they were just too goofy. And they were like making all these mistakes in all of the missions. So that was like too goofy of a sequel. But the last few have been so good. I just really enjoy those. So I cannot wait to check that out this weekend. And of course, Melody Cherie's TikTok Live is this Friday, May 23rd. Definitely head on over to her Instagram page so that you can register. And I will see y'all over there for sure. And yeah, we are going to have a great time this weekend, and I will talk with you all soon. Bye.